Okay, we're recording. Thank you so much for coming tonight. I'm really excited. Johanna is a brand new superstar director. She just promoted at the end of March. So I'm excited to have her here. I didn't tell you, but I invited a few other director teams tonight to jump in. I'm going to Summit in Boise on Thursday with a group of ladies. So I posted the link in that group and they shared it with their directors. So there's some from Jack Roy's team and Fee's team, Lindsay Conan, I think her team, Rami. So quite a few different leaders in here. So, but
Awesome.
let's see, open the chat. Okay, so let me spotlight you and get you started. Okay, all you.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Amy, for having me on. I'm super excited to be here to talk about really the journey from director to star director, but I'm also going to touch on what happened to get me to SSD. And it's basically the same thing that happened to get me from director to star director. So, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Johanna Luna, and I actually reinstated my Scentsy business in August of 2017. So, I was a Scentsy consultant and then decided to come back. Um, in August of 2017, I started to reach out to anybody that would sit down and talk to me about what this journey could look like. And as soon as people really spelled out to me what I could earn, what the potential was to do with this business, I was all in. I have two young children myself. So I have an 8-year-old son and a 6-year-old son who keep me very, very busy. And I just wanted to do something that was going to get me to that point of freedom. And to be completely honest, I'm at the point right now where if I wanted to walk away from my job, my 9 to 5, I could. And I spent 13 years building this career. I am a very well taken care of executive assistant for a very prominent company. So for me to be able to say that I could walk away from that right now is huge. And I never thought I could get there. The consistency to be able to get there really came after director. And that's why I think this topic is really, really important because some of you may be in your business and kind of frailing along and not really seeing consistency in your income, seeing consistency in your earning potential, or even in the opportunity as it presents itself through incentives. And incentives are important because truly, when you look at your business and you look at what it takes to be successful and to gain momentum in this business, it's always spelled out for you twice a year in an incentive period. If you look at what an incentive period spells out for you in your recruiting requirements, your sponsoring requirements, those are two different things. Did you realize sponsoring and recruiting? Not the same thing. We'll talk about that. And then also in your PRV requirements, doing those things consistently, even when somebody isn't waving a little gumball in front of you telling you that, you're going to get something special for doing what you should be doing, that's ultimately what's going to make you a successful consultant. So do those things all the time. One of the things that I like to challenge myself to do is every 70 days, reset my business as if I'm going for sensational start level 3 once again. So I take it on as if I have to get the PRV again, and I have to get the recruits and help them be at least active. If you do that every 70 days, you're going to see this really successful trend of your business. And the difference of what I did to get myself from to where I was at as a director to what I did as a star director was simply to make other people successful. I poured my business and my time into other people, not just anybody, but those that were showing up and that acted like they wanted it. I was very intentional each time I promoted. I was very intentional when I promoted to director. When I promoted to director, I promoted in June. Who promotes to director in June? I promoted to director in June. And the previous 3 months, I had not been paid a title as a superstar consultant. I hit superstar consultant in February, March, April, and May, not paid at title. So when we were going for director in June, it was a little scary because, as you may or may not know, director is the only title that they can take away from you. So I was kind of like, oh, what am I going to do? How am I going to keep this? But I learned very quickly as I was waiting for those numbers to update on the hour, every hour, the day I promoted to director, that this was not something I could do or maintain on my own. That was a very humbling realization at that point in my business, and I decided to make my entire business about my team. I recognized them. I poured into them. I worried about their goals instead of worrying about my own. It was never my title to keep, so it was never about me. I will never get on a training. Even tonight, Amy introduced me as an SSD. I would have never come on here and said, I'm Johanna Luna, SSD, because no one cares. It doesn't matter if you're not doing something with the title. The title is about servanthood. The title is about what you do with it, what you bring to your team. That's what a title is. So, and by the way, outside of this business, nobody knows what it is and they don't care. Independent Sensi consultant, that's all you need to know. So from the point of director, so I hit director in June of 2019. I became an SD in May of 2020. The month I became an SD, I promoted up 2 directors, 2 frontline directors. We had been getting close to that GWV that was needed, hadn't hit it yet, but we were getting close. And I always look at my business and determine its health, whether or not I have a healthy business based off of my TWV. Sensi's compensation plan breaks down your required TWV by level. So for a star director, you only need 6,000 TWV to be a star director. If you have a TWV of $20,000, your business is unhealthy if you haven't brought up new leaders. That's selfish to hang on to that. That's how I look at it. So I knew I needed to bring up some leaders, and I had some girls that were hungry. I saw crazy amounts of growth in their group number, how many they were recruiting, how many their team was recruiting, what their TWV was looking at themselves, and what the growth was month over month. And I did that by looking in my frontline focus binder. So I have a frontline focus book where I track my frontlines numbers every single month. So I will track their TWV, their PRV, how many recruits they have, how many active frontline. I do that every single month for my frontline only. And when I saw these girls that were hungry and I saw the movement happening, I reached out and I started working with them on what it would look like for them to get to director. 2 hit in the same month. We had the GWV, all stars aligned to make sure that we were ready. Fast forward the next year, having TWV as a star director in the $30,000 range. Unhealthy business. Ready to bring up some new directors. We were almost there in the fall. I had brought up my 3rd director by July. So 2 months after we hit star director, I had a 3rd frontline director. And then I had a 4th frontline director promote in September. But at that point, one of my original 2 was in the queue. So we had 71,000 GWV. I had 3 frontline directors and 1 in the queue. That hurt my heart. But I realized it wasn't our time. It wasn't meant to be. I'm not meant to get promotion points. I never do. So why start now? So continued to work with those that wanted it, continued to build up those. And then what happened at that point was I ran numbers. If you're not running your reports, those reports are golden. If you don't know how to run up your reports, talk to Amy. If you're part of another group that's on here, talk to your SSD. Figure out how to run reports. and look at what you're missing. For me, what was missing were those mid-level, what I call mid-level leadership, those leadership in training positions, those star consultants, those superstar consultants. We were lacking those month over month. So I launched a Shooting for Star program. I launched it in January. It was a 3-month program set to end at the end of March. We had a lot of promotions in our group last month, 39 to be exact. 39 promotions, anything from certified all the way up to my promotion of SSD, and that's how it happened. The common denominator here is pouring into other people, making sure that other people, those in your group, understand their goals. They understand what it takes to get to those goals. They understand how to sponsor and lead themselves, and they know what it takes to maintain those numbers. The same thing that happened at Director happened at Star Director. We weren't like blowing the numbers away, right, month to month. And I was so afraid that we would not be able to maintain those numbers. But that was never the case. I have never not been paid at title, knock on wood, that we don't start doing that now. But the same thing happened here. And I remember at Star Director Summit Approach, whatever we called that virtual event last fall, Orville had said, it will never be a GWV issue when you're getting ready to promote to SSD. It'll be that you need to put the leaders in place. Again, because I was intentional, my leaders were in place 2 weeks before I hit SSD. I think that that is a tribute to the fact that I constantly pour into others and that I am readying my leadership before I'm worried about my own promotion, before we're worried about the numbers. Collectively, as a group, we came together. And I'm going to tell you something. When you rally around other people, when you make your life's work to be other people's cheerleaders, they sure as hell rally around you. And that's exactly what my group did. Now they're getting ready to pie me in the face tomorrow, and they're very excited about that. So that might have had something to do with their motivation. But I promise you, it had to do with the fact that I had been there for them. So they were going to be here for me. And truly, that's the beautiful part about this business. I said earlier that I was going to mention that there's a difference between sponsoring and recruiting. Recruiting is the act of getting someone to join your team. Sponsoring is helping them be successful once they hit join. So many sponsors get it wrong, and they are done with somebody the minute that person hits certified, or they forget about them the minute they don't show up and don't, come out the gate running. They give up on them, they move on to the next. Now, I do believe in replace, don't chase. However, I think it's important to understand a person's why and really vet them when they're joining. So often we get really excited about somebody wanting to join that we don't ask them why they want to join. We don't ask them what they see this business doing for them. We don't even ask them if they see it as a business. We make assumptions about people all the time. And that's human nature, but the course correcting of that human nature will make the difference in whether or not you're a successful sponsor or you're simply a rock star recruiter, because the two are not the same. So, one of the things that I will say is that you need all of those people, all of those contributions to your group in order to get to those larger numbers, right? To get to the 30,000 GWV, to get to the 80,000 GWV. You need all of those numbers. You need your hobbyists. You need your, every 6 months, a rock star month, and you need your steady Yetis, your active contributors month over month, your business builders. But how you manage that month over month has to be intentional. You have to look into these things. You have to be looking at your reports. If you're running a business, if you're trying to go from director to star director, from star director to SSD, Heck, if you're trying to go from SSC to director, it's time to start treating your business like a business. And I can promise you, there's not a CEO that doesn't review the books. The CFO might prepare the books, but the CEO is going to review them. And by the way, my friends, you're both in your business. You wear all the hats. So balancing those hats and finding a system to be able to balance those hats is how you're going to not only achieve a title, but maintain it. Because what does it matter if you hit it once and never maintain it after that? Where's the glory in that? Where is the satisfaction in that? Where are you going to be able to serve your team if you're not maintaining the title? So all of those things play a part. It's really, really important to understand how to run your reports. It's really important to understand what you're looking for in order to serve other people, right? And it's everything matters. So if you have a frontline that's looking at going for director, right? You're a director yourself and you want to get to SD. You need two frontline directors in order to do that. So how do you do that? You're going to have to help them run the numbers to know how they're going to get there. It's not just about looking at who's up for a promotion to help push that, because I never encourage anybody to make their promotion about them. I encourage them to make it about the success of the group, right? It's a team effort. So teaching them how to look at who's up for a promotion, but also who's close to shooting star, who's close to certified, who's close to sensational start levels, who's close to being paid at title, who needs their $500 still, who needs to get active, right? All of these things matter. Who's close to $1,000? Who's close to getting their bonus for the month? We don't leave money on the table in our group. Like that's one of the things that I'm really big on, because most people are in this business because they need a little bit of extra money. We stay in this business because of what the money is doing for our business and what the people bring to us, right? But not knowing how those numbers stack up is so important. It's not enough to just say, I want a $5,000 paycheck. How do you get a $5,000 paycheck? What does that look like? I can tell you, my friends, it usually looks like you're leading from the front in your PRV and you're building leaders. Okay? Because you need to build leaders in your business if you want the paychecks that indicate success, right? Because money isn't everything. Money doesn't necessarily indicate success, but it sure is a strong indication usually if you're seeing your checks go up and stay steady. And that really started to happen to me after director. After I started to stabilize numbers and stabilize people in this business, not having a high turnover rate, not having people being inconsistent with their own numbers, that's when I saw my paychecks get consistent. And truly, that's the other factor to this, is making sure that, people feel valued, people want to stick around, they stay consistent in this. That's truly something that I learned as a leader, is that the consistency and the retention is important. And all of the things that I talked about are what's going to get you to get that sticky community, to get that retention to stick. When people feel like you see them, and you see them not just because they're putting up 2,000 PRV. Do you see your team members who are maybe 200, 200, 200, 200, 200? Are you recognizing active for 3 months, active for 6 months? If not, you're missing a big opportunity to show people that they matter. And the other thing that I will say to you is that the people that get you to director are not going to be the ones that get you to star director. And those that get you to star director are not going to be the ones that get you to SSD. So you've constantly got to be looking in your reports for your next director. And how I look for people that I believe are going to be directors are, first, consistency in their own sales, right? Future directors, they don't just not show up for their business month over month. Okay. They don't have months where they just like don't do anything. That does not make up a director, at least not one that's ready for a director in the next 6 months. Someone that's showing up in the team page, So whether you have your own team page or you're all part of one page, I know every group does it different. Who is showing up? Who is being consistent in commenting and helping other people in sharing their business ideas? That is somebody that is ready to be a leader. Who is consistently recruiting? And what does consistently recruiting look like? To me, I measure that as one recruit every 6 weeks. So I don't personally put pressure on my teamies to do 2 a month for a few reasons. And I know that's always been the Sensi standard, right? That's the Sensi gold is $2,000 a month, 2 teamies a month for 2 years and teach everyone to do the same. I push my teamies, especially the ones that are getting started in sponsoring and recruiting, to do 1 a month and to teach their people to do the same thing. And here's why. If you recruit one person a month, you can get that person in their first 30 days really set up for success. Your time is not split. If you don't have strong sponsoring systems in place, and by strong sponsoring systems in place, I mean things like Project Broadcast to welcome new teamies and to get them all through their first 70 days. Don't know what I'm talking about? Look up Rachel Pence on YouTube. I'm talking about training videos. Like I have a 12 video series, training series on my YouTube channel for new recruits. And that's there to help them if I can't be available. So whether I am on an incentive trip, I have a family emergency, I'm sick, anything happens, I can still make sure that these people are well taken care of and they don't miss a beat in their first 15 days. If you don't have those systems in place, it's imperative that you have the time to give to them. How do you have the time to give to them if you are working your own business? You're working on all your other teamies and working with them, and you're recruiting 5 or 6 a month. Who's getting lost in the shuffle? It better not be your personal business. Remember, because 80% is supposed to be spent on you in your business. That's your bloodline. So don't you dare let that go. Is it a new teamie, one of the 5 or 6 that you just recruited? Or is it your other teamies that aren't getting your time? So if you recruit 1 a month, you can focus on that newbie stuff. If you were to join in January and you were to recruit 1 a month and you taught every person to do the same, that compound recruiting turns out to be over 400 people in 1 year. Now that's a perfect scenario, and we know that not everybody's going to do that. But heck, if you could get that to take off, even on a 25% basis, look at the growth that you would see in a year. And that's exactly the growth that I saw. A year ago today, I had 61 team members. Today, I'm sitting at 251. That's huge growth in a year. Some have more, some have less, but I'm pretty happy with where I'm at. Okay, I'm unmuted now. All right, so that is basically in a nutshell everything that I had. So I don't know if anybody has any questions. I'm happy to answer anything.
Will you talk about which reports you pull?
Yes, so I will do a downline report. And so I focus really heavily on PRV, first of all, like we all do. So I will just sort my PRV by, highest to lowest, and I'll focus on that. But every single month, what I do is I track, like I said, my frontline focus has, and I wish I had the binder here. I don't even know where it's at. It's over there somewhere. But I basically track their PRV. So at the 10th of the month, I do wait until commissions run because anything could happen before commissions run. But I do track their PRV, their TWV, their active frontline, their group size, and then new recruits. And the reason why I track those things and why they're so important is because I had it happen. My first director was not someone I recruited. Her sponsor recruited her. but then really wasn't doing anything with the business. I'm talking 0, 0, 0 over month. But that group number was growing, and we were going from 8 to 12 to 16. And I'm like, what's going on here? And the group, the TWV was growing and growing. And so I knew that there was somebody in there that I had to dig down into. Once you have, I have 49 as of tonight, 49 frontline. And so some of you may have more, some of you may have less, but I'm going to tell you right now that even doing this for 49 people a month, that gets crazy. And so I don't believe that you need to do it for your whole team. I do know some SSDs that do it for their whole team. I think that's crazy. You're going to be tracking a lot of zeros for something you don't need to, in my opinion, because you're going to see the movement in the group number and the TWV. And by looking at that, you can then drill down. So, for example, if I have Susie Smith that has 0 in, and I need to figure out where that number is coming from, I can click on her name and drill into downline to get where, to see who that rock star is. Then I will start tracking that rock star for 6 months, right? And I'm always going to work with Susie first to make sure, she doesn't want to work with that person. Usually if they've got zeros or they're not doing much, I can answer that question myself, but I do try to give that first. And then as far as when I'm working with people one-on-one, because I do a lot of coaching calls, I will run their GWV for the last 3 months, as well as their PRV for the last 3 months, and then also any new recruits. So I do look at my new recruits reporting. And like if you go up at the top when you do a downline report, if you go at the top, you can see there's additional filters, and you can look at, you can sort it for the last 3 months, sort it for the last 6 months, new recruits, anybody that's, star or above. So like when I needed to do those that were going to go into the Shooting for Star program, I ran a report specific to who was certified to lead. And then I could also I could sort further by their paid at title. So I would include star in that. And those that weren't getting paid at title also got an invite to the program. Because that's the thing. Like I said earlier in this program, or earlier in this call, who cares if you earn the title? A title is just a title. What you need to be worried about is your rank. Every single month, is your rank where it needs to be? And I don't know, have you guys seen these daily GWV? Have you guys seen these, the trackers? Okay.
Yeah.
So whatever your title is at, I encourage you every month to print out your title. Okay. And that little purple thing, I live by that purple thing. I need to make sure that we are where we are supposed to be when we're supposed to be there. And when you see yourself trending a few days ahead, that's when you know you're ready for that promotion. But you need to look down into your reports and see also, are your superstar consultants trending ahead a couple of days? If they're trending ahead a couple of days, they're ready for that director promotion. But you can't wait until the 25th of the month to ask them if they're going for the promotion. Mid-month, my friends, mid-month is where I look and I say, you've been trending for the last week. Are we ready to push? Because most of these promotions take a push, right? Like and if they're happening organically by mid-month, I say you push.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Patty. I'm from Lindsay Conan's team. I have 4 superstar consultants, and I'm going to make it, y'all. I'm going to. But when I made director, Lindsay and I were in a different place in our business, and I only wanted the word director with my name.
Mm-hmm.
And I've learned from that way beyond that. But I don't ever want that to happen to any of my people. And so that has held me back. And I've told them we have a Marco Polo, my 4 leaders and we talk almost daily. And I told them this is the month. And like you said, I've grown and made it to where this is not about me. In the back of my mind for myself, only to my husband and Lindsay, is it for me? But it's all for them because I want them to have the freedom. I've quit my job, not saying that they need to quit their jobs. I
Right.
want them to see what this has done for me and I want them to make it, which they all do too. But I've never tracked the numbers like you just said. And I have all of those papers. I just always would look at the director numbers and I never would look at how they were. I need
Mhm.
to go back on my frontline focus now and look where they've been.
Mhm. Yeah, and I would say, this is a great month to do it because, we just had an awesome launch today. We know that there's additional stuff coming, right? We had all the teasers in the live, end of the month live.
For the
Why
last
not?
14 months, I've had over 30,000 GWB, and I'm still only a director. So when you said that a minute ago, that about if someone had been up in the 20s or 30s all this time, it was like a slap. Patty, wake up.
Yeah, unhealthy business. So, two things that I would encourage you to look at is their team size. Okay. So,
hmm They're all in the
typically,
20s and 30s. They're
okay,
27,
they're ready.
27, 33 is the highest.
Yeah,
Well, no,
that's
she's
right in that
38
magic.
now.
Mhm.
Right.
That's that magic number is the 25 to 30. So they're prime, they're ready. Look at where their TWV is trending
Okay.
compared to that list, right? So
Okay.
look at that, look at this daily GWV list
Right.
for directors. And if I were you, I would you said you had 4.
Yes.
So I would print off 4 of these sheets. I'd write each one of their names at the top of one sheet and then start
Okay.
tracking it. I'd start tracking it
Okay.
now, and then probably by mid next week, end of next week will be the middle of the month. I would then reach out to them and I would say, hey, so and so, you're trending for director. I think with the amount of people you have, you can totally do this. I want to stand behind you. When they say that they're ready, really, my only thing I would ask you is to understand why they would want director, right?
Right.
So make sure
Right.
that they understand what they want it because, and understand what it means, right?
Right. And
Because
I've told them my story that because I made director 4 years ago and I was just wanting the title. I had no clue, none whatsoever. And I've told them that story and I have told them in the past because one of the girls, she was a star and she was like, I'm going to make director this month. I'm like, no, you're not. I don't want you to do what I did. And there has to be reasoning. I want to hear all these things. And I've done that. But like you, my team went last January from 46 to this January 185.
oh yeah, yeah, you're
So,
ready.
so I'm like, this is the month. I'm going to do it.
Pull those leaders up. I can't wait to see you do it.
Thank you very much for letting me come on this call today, too. I really enjoyed us. I heard you last week one day on the director boot camp page, maybe?
The
No.
Dreaming for Director page.
Yes, that's it. That's the one. And I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah, you're good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have another question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so say you've located your next upcoming leader.
Mhm.
What does what is what does that look like for you? What do you focus on with them? Because a lot of my directors have these upcoming leaders, and that's their question. What do we focus on?
So the first thing that I focus on is how they are working with their teams. And a question that I like to ask is, what type of director would you like to be? Right. And like, when you see yourself as a director, what does that look like on a daily basis? Now, um, anyone that follows me on social media, you probably see if you're watching my stories that I share, how do I put this? I share as much about the behind the scenes of my business and running as a leader as I do the products that I'm selling. Okay. So that's how I truly share this business opportunity. But not every director wants to sit here for a night and write out happy mail. Like my happy mail is insane. And I know that most people don't want to do 72 pieces of happy mail a month, and that's okay. So what I start to do is we made a change. When did we make this change? In December, end of December, early January, where we changed our leadership page to being from directors to including our SSCs in that page. And what we found was that it was the SSCs more often than the directors who were showing up to trainings, who were showing up to our leadership huddles, who were active in the group page, all of those things. And so we really focused on training them how to work with their downline. And so I used to do coaching calls with everybody in my group, like, and I don't say I have 200 and something a month, right? But like anybody that would want it in my group,
Yeah.
they could set it up with me. I started doing 2-on-1s. So if you were an SSC or a director, I don't meet with your people without you being on the call. And so that's one of the things that I do, but I start working with them on a monthly coaching basis. So anybody that's an up and coming leader, and that really starts at like Star, anybody that's going to start working towards SSC, because for me, the jump from Star to SSC was a lot harder than the jump from SSC to director.
Absolutely.
You know, the SS or the Star to SSC took me a year. The other one took me 4 months of not being paid a title. So, you know, that's just where my journey was. So I try to pave the road for them to be easier. So we do focus on the things that I wasn't necessarily taught, which is leading from the front with PRV, leading from the front with recruiting. And so we talk about that, and we talk about really getting their group numbers up. So, for example, you know, we just talked about a healthy group number at 25 to 30 for a director. Well, someone that has 12 to 15, I make that clear. Yeah, in a hot month, you can hit that with director, but are you going to maintain it with those numbers? Probably not.
Nope.
So, even if you're on trend and we're going to go for it, we focus simultaneously on growth and recruiting. So we'll do a recruiting challenge, or we'll you know, do a PRV and recruiting challenge, because I always try to focus and tell them it's just like sensational start, right? Everything Sensi does is so intentional. So I show them the sensational start levels again, and I say, look at how hard this is to obtain as a new consultant if you're trying to do this on your own, right? $6,000 in sales is a lot for a new consultant. We've had them done, but it's a lot. But they have to do half of that work if they bring a couple of people on and get them certified, or not certified, active. So that's what we focus on, is doing the same thing, focus on starting another 70 days.
I like it. I like it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The frontline focus, are you using the ones that Anna, that same form?
Similar concept, but I made my own forms. Let me grab it. Hang on a second. It's just easier if I can just show y'all. All right. So this is my little book.
Cute.
And I have all kinds of things in here, like for when I'm training. Let me see if I can get a blank one. Got all these blank coaching call forms. I'll show you that too. Okay, here's a blank one. All right, so on mine, I don't know if it's kind of blurry, but I have shooting star, whether or not they earned that, sensational start level and what level they earned. And then their focus level, are they a hobbyist or are they building a business? And then the months, PRV, TWV, GWV, new recruits, group, title, and did they do a coaching call with me that month? Then I have their preferred contact method and then their preferred recognition. Some people don't want to be shouted out on Facebook, so don't do it to them. But you're only going to know that if you talk to them about that.
Mhm.
And then any notes that I'll put here, whether that be, things I need to know about them. If they work, a third shift, I don't expect them to be on an 8 or 9 o'clock training call if that's their schedule. So that will help me with that. And then my coaching call forms match, and this is part of my focus binder. I do these, and it's got the month, and then I always make them set the intention. Like, what is the purpose of the call? And my coaching calls are no more than 20 minutes. I have a big group. I got a lot of leaders. I don't have the time to be talking about what was on This Is Us tomorrow night. Like, we got to talk about, your business. So then I talk about their PRV. This was their most recent PRV, and usually I will write down the last 90 days and their recruiting. And that's something that I do ahead of time before the call to pull that. And then we set their goals for the next 90 days around PRV recruiting and if they're going for a promotion. Because I think with enough intention, anybody that I'm coaching could probably get to a promotion in the next 90 days if they're following this. And then any personal growth. One question that I like to really ask my group, and I ask this to new recruits and anyone that I'm coaching, talk to me about your dream paycheck. If I know how much money they need or want to make with this business, I can set appropriate goals with them around what that looks like. When you have somebody join and they tell you that they want to make $500 a month, you can do that in your first month, sell $2,000. And so breaking it down for them, I then break it down. What does that look like? Do 4 parties, your launch party, and have 3 friends book a party for you. You can get it done. It's just, this is what it's going to take. So understanding those things. And then when I ask them about their dream paycheck, sometimes they skirt around that a little bit. And I'll say, don't be shy. Like, tell me, like, what is life-changing money for you? When I started, life-changing money for me was a 6-figure income. Life-changing money for me was being able to walk away from my job and not worry about it. Because my one thing has always been, I didn't want to do Sensi, or I didn't want to quit my job to only do Sensi if it meant that I couldn't do the Happy Mail. If it meant I couldn't send out welcome packets with confetti to my new people with rock candy in there. If I couldn't send out Starbucks gift cards to my leaders because we had a tough launch and they really rocked it. That to me is part of the fun. That's part of my joy in this business. And so I never wanted to be hurting once I did it. But that's a real number and I have it written down, and so knowing that, I think, helps. It helps you really focus in, and then it keeps them accountable, right? So when they have a hard month or they want to give up, you have a firm thing that you can remind them of their why. So many of us as leaders skirt around not wanting to ask them what their why is and not wanting to get them to dig deep. So I now go back to Kendra's world tour presentation when she talked about the mother that wanted to be there at the school programs. Well, why do you want to be there at the school programs? I was sitting there in my living room bawling, listening to that because I didn't ever do that work myself. It was like, yeah, I want to be able to be at my kids' school so I don't miss things. But then when I really thought about it, and I thought about the fact that oftentimes my husband's the one with the flexibility and he's the one sending me the videos while I sit in my cubicle. Forget that. I don't want that anymore. I don't want that anymore. I want to be the one in the room. And so when you understand that about your people, you have an emotion tied to their story. You are bought into their success. And as a leader who leads with a servant's heart, you're gonna do whatever you can to help encourage and empower them to go after that dream.
Powerful. Well, teary-eyed. Oh, so good. So good.
Good.
Oh, one of my directors just sent me a little fire.
Oh,
She's nursing her baby to sleep. Now y'all know who it is. There was something else I was gonna ask you. Oh, Amber asked in the comments, do you require, okay, so going back to Chloe, do you require them to fill out a form before you do a coaching call with them?
I used to. Now what I do is I book them through Calendarly,
Mhm.
right? And I don't do the forms anymore because number one, there are some people, depending on what promotion or what goal they're going for, that I am working with monthly. That's not the majority of people, but there are a few. And so the forms became redundant, for me at least. But what I do is in Calendarly, you can ask questions.
Yeah.
So I ask, what is the intention of the call? What are your business goals for the next 30 days? And I also make them say yes, that they agree that they will be in a quiet place without distractions, that they can focus on our call and that they can take notes. Because what I was finding is that I'd get on a call, and again, I have 20 minutes, and I get on a call and I've got kids screaming in the background, and I've got, um, you know, their mother on the phone with me screaming at the kid. And, I'm a yeller too, but like, come on, I don't want to hear you yell at your kid. And then I would have somebody get on the phone and be like, oh, I'm driving from work. Well, how are you going to remember all this stuff that we're going to talk about in the next 20 minutes?
Right.
So if it's not a priority to them, then I won't make it a priority for me. So I made them start doing that. And I think sometimes people just don't even think, because I know I will do a coaching call from my car, right? Like, but I'm not the one that's being coached and need to write things down.
Right.
So that's a little bit different. But, um, I had to do it in 20 minutes because I have to be intentional with my time. Since I do work a full time job, I had to create a system that would work for me that I could do on my lunch break. And on my lunch break, I can get two of these calls in with a 10-minute buffer in between. So I think that that's important too, is as a leader, you set the tone for your business. You set the tone for what happens and when it happens. Um, I remember one of the people that I look up to and a mentor that, um, well, somebody I consider a mentor. I asked her to come speak to my group, and she agreed, but she said she has to do it during lunch because she doesn't do those calls at night anymore. And I thought, that's some boss stuff right there. That's what I want to be able to say. Like, I don't do this during at night anymore. But she got to a place in her business where she was able to make those guidelines around her business. She set her business hours that way. And you get to do that with your business. You get to determine how you will work, when you will work,
Mhm.
and you'll figure it out.
Yeah. So working a full-time job, how are you finding pockets of time to do all the things that you do?
I will be completely honest and tell you that COVID looks very different than what it will look like when I have to go back into an office. Right? Especially like I think about launches and I just almost break out in hives when I think about what that's going to look like when I'm trying to sit at my desk and, we're sitting on a launch at noon. Luckily, in central time zone, that is lunchtime for me. So at least I have that excuse. But, um, you know, it's always been that I use my time on the way to work or on the way home from work to either do some kind of personal development where I'm listening to a YouTube video or listening to a podcast, or I'm calling and checking in with a teammate, even if it's not a coaching call, just to say, hey, how are you? Those worked out better at 4:30 in the afternoon when I was going home than at 7:30 in the morning most times. But either way, it was still a good time to use. And then my lunch break was used for things like the director call or a launch or just time with a team member or putting in orders. And then a lot of late nights. I'll just be honest, my business did not get here. I didn't go from reinstatement to SSD in 3 years and 7 months by not being very intentional with my time and by not being willing to put in those late nights or early mornings to be able to get things done.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Does anyone else have any questions? Let you go to bed. Thank you so much. Welcome to the dark side of SSD.
Yeah, nope, totally here for it.
I'm excited. Are they letting you come to Summit?
Yes, I will be contacted this week to register. I'm very excited. I'm very excited.
So exciting.
So
Alrighty.
yeah, that was a driving force. Steffi called me and said, no pressure, but if you hurry up and do this month.
Are you in Steffi's downline?
I'm not.
Oh,
But she just, as you know, just a friend reached
yeah.
out. So
Okay, awesome. Who is your upline?
Dawn Spencer.
I don't know who that is. I'm gonna have to go look.
So
Goodies.
yeah, she's my upline. But yeah, Steffi reached out and was like, no pressure. And I was like, okay, no pressure.
It's Summit this week. No pressure. If you want to book a flight to Boise, we're going to Boise on Thursday.
Oh, I would love to. That dang 9 to 5. That's why I said I'm like, next year I have to be done with this job. I just do.
Oh, the freedom is amazing. It's so great. I'm excited for you.
I better be a little bit more careful though, knowing this stuff's going to be on YouTube and stuff. One day they're going to be like, hey, you know what? We were watching this video.
And you said you're leaving us.
Yeah, but you know what? It's all in due time. And I think that that's the most important lesson that I've learned. I think COVID probably taught us all how short life is. And um, I don't know, I just enjoy being home. I enjoy having coffee in the morning with my husband after the kids go to school and, really connecting. And I know that it's been really hard on some people to be in their home with their spouse. And my heart goes out to people in that boat. But what it taught me is that that was time that we were missing, those rushed days. And I would take my kids to, after school care. They went to after school care and I'd be picking them up at 5:30 or 6 o'clock. You get them home, you gotta do dinner and do homework and get in the bath and brush their teeth and put on their jammies and read the story. And it's like you have 2 hours to get all of that done. And I think about their little lives and the stress that's on them. And I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Mhm.
And so that's, something
That was my
that's
why right there. That was
Mhm.
my why. I'm always like, how do people do it? They take their kids to school or daycare, they work a 9 to 5, they come home, they have this tiny little window of, I guess you don't have to clean house because you're not home, so your house isn't a mess. But I just couldn't even imagine having to do that. And how old are your kids?
My oldest will be 9 in August and my youngest just turned 6.
They're going to love
So
being home.
yeah, and I took my babies to daycare at 6 weeks old. And I remember my sister saying to me, my sister's a stay-at-home mom, and bless her heart, she didn't know what she was saying. She didn't, I had kids first, but she said they can't even hold their head up. And I'm like, way to guilt me. Like, I don't have a choice. I have to work. And so that's where it's at. And the only saving grace that I have is the mamas who have older kids just keep telling me like they're only going to need you more, right? Like sports and driving and all the things. So, there's different periods of time in your child's life, I guess, that like they need you in different ways. So I just can't wait to be there for all those moments and what they need from me then. So
That's awesome.
totally worth it.
That's so exciting. Yeah, mine are babies. So. Oh, well, thank you so much. Go to bed. It's 11 o'clock.
You are so welcome. Thank you for having me. I will let you guys wrap up your meeting and sign off, but thank you so much. This was wonderful.
Alrighty. Thank you.
Bye.